Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to today's cruise news video for Saturday, January the 8th of 2022. Now we are going to start with Celebrity Cruise Lines, and particularly the Celebrity Apex. Well, the Celebrity Apex yesterday on the 7th was denied permission to dock in Nassau, Bahamas, due to what they're calling an emergency decision made by the local health authorities. A letter was sent out to all of the passengers on board the cruise ship, letting them know of the cancellation, and instead the Celebrity Apex spent an additional day out at sea. So in a letter from the captain, at this time, the Bahamas has made a change in their entry requirements for cruise ship visits due to the COVID-19 Omicron variant. As a result of this emergency decision by health authorities, we will be replacing our scheduled call to Nassau with a relaxing day at sea. We will now continue sailing toward our final destination in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for disembarkation in Port Everglades this Saturday as scheduled. Now, exactly which health requirement from the Bahamas the cruise lines is talking about, that part is a little bit unclear. Now, the Bahamas have recently updated their health protocols and their testing requirements, but these are for visitors staying longer than 48 hours. So we're not real sure exactly what Celebrity is referring to here. Is there COVID cases on board? They haven't specified that. They haven't released any information on that at this time. So the next voyage for Celebrity Apex is scheduled to sail today and does also include another stop in Nassau, Bahamas. So hopefully before they get there, we're going to know what these updated health protocols and testing requirements are for Nassau, Bahamas. That way we don't have another cruise ship that is prevented from docking there. Now, onto something that I just feel like, we've talked about it. I've talked about it. Other content creators have talked about it. The cruise lines send information out to cruise passengers about this, and yet still, if you watch the news or if you read news stories, there are still passengers coming off for cruise ships going, "Oh my God, I was quarantined in my cabin. Oh my God, I was denied boarding for such and such reason." So it seems like no matter how much we talk about it, these problems are still persisting. So I want to go over a couple of them again, reiterate them again, okay? Just so if you are not familiar with cruising, you have to understand that it is not all rainbows and butterflies right now. You can have a problem. There can be an issue, and you need to be aware of them and know what they are before you get onto a cruise ship. And so I'm going to even give you some examples. So we are scheduled to cruise on Monday, just a couple of days away from now. When we get to the cruise terminal, we have to take a COVID-19 test. That is a Disney Cruise Line requirement. I know, before we even get there, there is a possibility we could test positive before we even get on the ship there at the cruise terminal. Right now, there are people testing positive with Omicron that are asymptomatic. They have no clue that they are going to test positive. So when we get down to the cruise terminal, yes, there is absolutely a chance we could test positive. I know this before we get there. While I absolutely do not want this to happen, I would be very disappointed if we had to miss our cruise over it. I am still aware that it is a possibility. I know it going in. Yet I am still going to go down there and cruise if I can get a negative test. Now, we are going to board this cruise ship. I know before I get on that cruise ship, because I have listened, I have read the documentation from the cruise lines, that if I am indoors, I'm going to wear a mask. It's a requirement. I know some of the activities on the ship are going to be different than how they were pre-pandemic. I know this before I get on the ship. I know there is a possibility that if crew members test positive for COVID, that some of the entertainment on the cruise ship may not be there. I am aware of this before I get on there. I am aware that if somebody tests positive on the ship, they are going to do contact tracing. And if they do contact tracing and we are identified as a close contact, we will be isolated in our cabin until they clear us. Whether we test positive and we go into quarantine or we test negative and they let us out. But it is a possibility that if we are identified as a close contact, we will be isolated in our cabin. Everybody needs to know that as a possibility. There is no reason you should come off of the cruise ship at the end of your voyage, run over to your local news and go, "Oh my God, we were isolated and quarantined in our cabin, but we had a negative COVID test before we got on the ship. We don't understand why we were put in there when we were negative." If you are identified as a close contact, you will be quarantined in your cabin until you are cleared. I know this is a possibility. I know if I get quarantined in my cabin, I'm going to get some room service. I'm going to get free movies. I'm going to get free Wi-Fi. That's generally what the cruise lines are doing for everybody right now. You'll get a refund for the days that you miss on your cruise due to this. I know all of this before I get on the cruise ship. I know that what cruising is today is not the same as it was 2 years ago. Now, the majority of y'all watching this video are probably going, "We've heard this before. You've said this before. Other content creators have said this before. I've read this from the cruise line before. I've cruised and I already know this." And for the majority of y'all, yeah, you guys do know that. You've cruised enough. You've heard enough. You are aware of the situation. But you'd be surprised. Go read some of the news stories. Go read some news articles and see what the news puts out. And there are people who get quarantined in their cabin because they were identified as a close contact and then are shocked to the local news media about how they were put in their cabin when they had a negative test when they got on board the ship. And they just don't understand and must have been unfairly treated. So that's why I say things like this. This is why this reminder is there that, hey, look, there are some risks to going cruising right now. Know what they are. Know what the possibilities are so you're not shocked and you're not surprised and you're not confused if something happens on the cruise ship. And if these things are just things you cannot accept, things you don't want to deal with, that you don't want to put up with, then cruising right now may not be your best option. I'm not advocating for anybody to cancel. I'm not advocating for anybody to run out and buy a cruise ticket. I'm just saying, think about what's going on, know what's going on, know what the possibilities are before you get on your cruise ship or before you decide to not get on the cruise ship. You do you, but remember, doing you can sometimes have consequences. And that goes for me too. I know when I get on the ship on Monday, there's a possibility of consequences. I'm aware of them. I weighed my risk versus my reward. And I know what I'm getting into ahead of time. So I ask that everybody else, please do the same thing. And let's not give these news people any more junk to put out there just for them to talk some smack about the cruise lines. All right, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor, smash that like button. Have yourself a great day. And like always, we will see you out on the high seas.